All right, guys, good morning. Happy Friday. It is Friday, February 23rd. I can't believe we're almost through the second month of the year already. So we're thinking about the spring market coming up. And just saw an interesting article about this being a super hot time for agents looking around and deciding where they're going to perform at a super high level for the spring market and going into the year. So, FYR Fridays are all about talking about agent attraction and using the incredible platform here at eXp Realty to do that. And so I'm super excited. We've had so many great guests on here, and you will not be disappointed today because I'm super pumped that we have my friend Tim Harris on here. And a lot of you guys probably already know about Tim Harris. He's one of the top, he and his wife Julie have one of the top coaching podcasts. They're some of the top coaches in real estate in the world. Over 20 million downloads of their podcast. And they've also, I saw that you guys have had over 10,000 one-on-one coaching appointments.
No, dude,
That's probably old, right?
Bro, like if you're a Navy SEAL and you went through BUD/S, you're going to say, I went through BUD/S, I'm a Navy SEAL. So no, that's the lightweight version of it. Julie and I stopped counting probably about 7 years ago, and we had each had over 100,000 one-on-one calls, 30-minute calls. Now you would think that I'm bragging, and I'm not. What I'm really telling you all that is if I seem like I have a little twitch or whatever, it's from talking to agents for that long, for that high level of intensity.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking.
Well, hey, I feel you. And but you guys started off in the business. You guys started off in sales.
Yeah.
You were top producing agents, so you didn't like I've seen some coaches out there and you're like, cool, what was your production? And they're like, I did like 5 million. And you're like, hey, I mean, 5 million is something to be proud of as an agent. That's really great. But if I'm going to get coached by someone on how to go build a big, successful business, I'm looking for someone with a little bit of horsepower, been there, done that. So you guys were super high producing agents, and then have really kind of mastered the process of understanding the market. So I love how insightful you guys are. The fact that you guys dig into what's happening out there from a global perspective, an industry perspective, a financial perspective, and then provide the tactics to thrive on that. So anyway, I love what you guys do and how you do it. And I'm excited that you're here today to talk to us about, building on this platform.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And right. So what do you guys want to talk about anyway? Our group, we've got what's fun is really tough questions that might seem inappropriate. Because Dave and I didn't know Dave before we joined EXP, and I have to say, we're pretty damn good friends at this point. These things always start out with all this gratuitous, ass kissing, but I really do feel this way. I mean, Dave really is a huge asset to EXP. He's the only person at EXP where I actually feel comfortable talking to him, because he can preach from both sides of the, he understands from an agent perspective, from a recruiter perspective, also from a corporate perspective. He really is truly unique. You guys are all lucky to be part of his group. That's straight up the truth.
Thank you, brother.
And yeah. And as far as recruiting, I've recruited over 300 people in 5 years. My first month, I recruited 43 people, but I have to say I started out, making phone calls in the previous November. We started in January of 2019. So I started making my calls to recruit in November, December of the previous year, and had people lined up. And Julie, my wife, has got the real estate license. I still don't have. I had an active license, obviously, when we sold, but I'm in the process of getting a license again. So we built.
You're gonna be a new agent. That's so cute.
I know, right? But here's the thing. I'm waiting for a really good offer for someone to sponsor me. Look, someone could actually recruit a proven top recruiter. I mean, what's that worth? That's worth something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, by the way, I don't want to gloss over this. When you say that you recruited over 300 agents in 5 years, just to be clear, you mean personally in your front line?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Just so everyone kind of gets a feel for that, because sometimes you go, all right, so he's got a group of 500. That's really good.
No. Our group is, I'm looking right now, our group is 3432. And Julie has 139 FLA, 59 FLQA. In the last 30 days, I'm looking at the screen, we've had 157 join our group.
So the last 30 days.
Yeah, the last 30 days.
Yeah.
So we're pacing for, I think if we keep track, you guys can do the math. We should be between 4,500 and 5,000 by the end of this year, assuming there's no alien invasions or anything, huge that happens.
How many people would be thrilled to have 157 agents join your organization over the next 12 months? Right.
Well,
Right. So 30 days, 30 days, that's the power of duplication and leverage in this model, of getting the ball rolling and then keeping it spinning, right?
here's the thing I want to really emphasize, and Dave told me this in 2019 or 2020. A lot of other people did too, and I didn't really understand it. And I just want to make this super clear, because sometimes when I do stuff like this, people say, well, you guys have a podcast and all the rest of this, and you had all this influence. And it's true. We did have an unfair advantage. I'm not, it is true. But here's the thing. If you look at all the groups, including ours, and it doesn't matter if it's Brent's or it's Gene's or it's anybody's, if you look at their whole group, you're going to see that almost always, really a majority of their success comes from maybe one, two, maybe three people. And by that, I mean, like, for example, I'll give you guys a specific example. Julie and I started in 2019. I recruited someone named Sean Kokoska. Sean Kokoska recruited someone named Eric Orland. I didn't know Eric Orland. Okay. I had no idea. I just never met him before, never talked to him. Eric Orland recruited someone named Orlando Montiel. Now, I didn't know Orlando either. Now, Orlando's gone on, I think his group now is 25 or 2,600 people. So of our group of 3,400 people or whatever, probably around 2,000-ish are from that relationship that Eric brought through Orlando. You guys following? And if you look at any of these top groups, that's the thing that's really hard to wrap your mind around. If you look at even the top 25 in EXP as far as revenue share earners, you wouldn't, and I say this to people all the time when I'm, because I do my recruiting myself. So when I'm talking to someone on the phone, I always remind them, like, I tell them stories about essentially, I'm trying to get them to emotionally attach to the idea of, having revenue share be a true life-changing event for them. And they think, well, it's only for the, it's only for the big fish. It's only for the, that ship has sailed and the rest of it. And then what I'll do is I'll read them off the names. I don't read them in order, but I'll read them off some of the names of the top 25 people. And I won't even tell them what I'm doing. I'll say, so I'm going to read you some names and you tell me to stop when you recognize the name. And they'll say, okay, go. And then I'll just read off the names and no one ever stops me, because here's why. None of the top 25 people, with the exception of maybe Julie and I and Jay Kender, I would say, and none of them have recognizable names, honestly. None of them have big brands. Like, oh, Brent Gove, he's a big deal in EXP. Brent Gove wasn't a big deal before EXP. Gene Frederick was a big deal in Keller Williams, but nobody knew him nationally. Why am I telling you this? Because all the big groups are essentially people who, in their downlines, had some whale come in. That's 100% the way it works. I didn't understand. Again, intellectually, I understood it, but I hadn't actually seen it. And that's what's truly spectacular. I'm Pat Hayes as a big group, and I don't know the people in Pat's downline, but I'm going to guess he has got some whales in his downline. I'm going to guess, and all of us are that way. So why does that matter? Because at the end of the day, and this is something I learned from Dave, truthfully, there's only two things you can really control when there's so few things you can control in life in general, but when you're trying to build a group, there's only two things you can truly control. People want to talk about culture and they want to talk about all this and that and the other thing, but it's how many people you personally sponsor. And when those 1 in 10 people show up, your unicorns, that's what we call them. Some people call them generals, that you identify them. Usually they self-identify. They'll let you know who they are, but you can tell too. And when you come across those people, then you pour into them. And that's all I've done. That's it. Honestly, if you looked at my schedule, my Zoom, like the first 2 years in my Zoom schedule for the first 2 years, I was probably working intensely doing this for myself and Julie and other people for probably 2 hours, maybe 3 hours a day. But now, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I know everyone likes to say how they're burning the midnight oil at this level to, keep up their downlines, but I'm not. I'm probably working, with the exception of a couple people, because all of our unicorns are now self-sufficient. They don't need me anymore, hardly ever. I mean, sometimes they bring me into Dan Lesniak. He'll bring me into Zooms as a joke, not that I'm needed, because he knows I had nothing else to do. And I'm not even,
it's a pity. It's a pity invite.
Yeah, it is. I had one of those today. And I said, do you really need me for that one? It was overlapping with this. And he goes, no, I just figured you were bored. But so what I'm saying is, again, I'm trying to help you guys put this together. it does take time. It takes doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. I didn't want to work intensely doing all that for 2 hours a day. Julie and I would go to Orange Theory after we were done. This is when we were in Austin, and after Orange Theory, then what we do is I would just basically strap on the phone and just go to work. And I had leads to follow up on. I had people I had to help, and I just did it. And my goal was to sponsor one person a week. Now, obviously, I wouldn't sponsor one person a week. Maybe 1 week I'd sponsor 3 people. But I had, and I'll tell you what my CRM is. I'll show you my current CRM. Let me see if I can find it. All right. I can show you my past ones, but this is my CRM. Dave knows what I'm going to show you. It's a yellow tablet of paper. That's it. Those are my EXP leads that I'm chasing
Super
right
high
now.
tech.
I'm not going to, I mean, again, I'm not, this really makes people's skin crawl when I say this, but I'm not going to change my mind about it. If you got a drip on somebody for a long period of time, you're wasting your time. And there's been a whole bunch of research that's been done on this for long-term lead follow-up. And I get it. You guys have all come into real estate and it's been beaten over your head to do long-term lead follow-up by the people that are trying to sell you the systems to do long-term lead follow-up. But if you've ever, there was a great study that was done on Inman by a guy named Teak Wiggins. Now, this was 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And he went and researched long-term lead follow-up, and he was reading Harvard studies, all these things, because all these business colleges have done all this deep dive research and all of it. And the essence of it was is long-term lead follow-up isn't a complete waste of time, but it's such a misuse of time and resources that you maybe shouldn't even do it in the first place. Why? Why do people do long-term lead follow-up? You get the lead, you call them back, and you pre-qualify them, and you ask them the questions to determine what their motivation is. And with EXP, it's super simple because you're selling something that everybody needs, a broker upgrade. And there's a script you're going to follow. And you go through you pay, ideally, they pre-qualified themselves before you're coming in contact with them. And then you just go through the process. And you got to put yourself in a position where you can get in front of as many people as possible. I was having this conversation yesterday with someone, and I don't remember who, but I remember somebody who wanted to be a coach for Julie and I. And I was explaining to him that not everybody, like, there's 1.6 million active members or 5 million members of the National Association of Realtors. There's believed to be another million people that have real estate licenses that aren't active members of the National Association of Realtors. So let's say there's 2.5 million people out there, but of that 2.5 million people, it's essentially assumed that 350,000 of those people are in a position to spend money on their real estate businesses every year. I'm talking from my coaching business perspective. So my the total addressable market, it's called TAM, for me to sell coaching products to, is 350,000 people. But unlike 20 years ago when Julie and I started coaching agents, I now have competition with everybody and their brother. People selling CRMs, people selling leads, people selling branding, marketing, all these things. So when an agent is thinking about, well, I'm going to invest $1,000 in my business or whatever their thought is, 10 years, 15 years ago, maybe it was, well, I'm going to hire a real estate coach because I want to get really good at listing presentations or whatever. Nowadays, they're just, do you want to buy a lead? Do you want to do this, that, and the other? So the total addressable market hasn't really increased. It's still around 350,000 people, but the number of people that are going to want to buy coaching and pay for it themselves has decreased because everyone and their brother calls himself a real estate coach,
Right.
for no particular reason. But Dave said that at the top of the call. Now, why am I telling you this? Because when it comes to choosing a real estate broker, everybody needs a real estate broker that has a real estate license. So your total addressable market is all 2.5 million people. That's a huge difference. That's like, if you can conceptualize that, that's like a game changer. So every single agent, and this is just the United States, who has a license, or in some countries doesn't have a license, they should be interested in EXP if you explain it correctly. If you are essentially, you take a questions-based approach to helping them understand why this is a great opportunity for them. And I'll tell you, there's 3 different flavors of the approach. If it's a new agent, like I'll ask them, they're always interested in the same thing. What are you going to do to support me? What am I going to, they're worried about survival. That makes sense. That's very easy. You have the mentor program, you have different things. You can kind of there's 5 or 6 things that they're interested in. The intermediary agent, they're going to be interested in growth. They're going to be interested in their own personal sustainability. They're going to be maybe interested in revenue share. And then the upper end agents are going to have different sets of interests and concerns. But I always start by asking them what they're focused on. I don't ever fire hose them with I don't assume they're interested in revenue share. Because again, statistically, there's 90,000 agents at EXP and 16,000, I think, Dave, have any form of revenue share. Yeah. So that tells you roughly 20% of the time, or 2 out of 10 times, you're probably going to have someone that's interested in revenue share. I'm not going to talk about things that people aren't interested in because it's a waste of my time and it's a waste of theirs. And I'll run them off because I fired hosted them and gave them too much information like I'm probably doing now for you guys. So let me pause so I can have some of my Celsius and recharge my brain.
That's such good stuff though. And you know, one of the things I think, Tim, that you know helped us really hit it off when we were talking is we have a couple of things in concept in common in our mindset is, you know, we don't mind working hard. In fact, we like working hard. I enjoy hard
Yep.
work. That just doesn't mean I want to work all the time. Right? You and I also have a heavy focus on family, right? You've got Julie, you've got Zoe. I mean, you guys spend a lot of quality family time together and want to, you know, want to be, you know, have all of those things going on. So then it comes down to I don't want to waste any actions, right? I want all the actions that I take to have a really good outcome, a really good ROI of investment of myself, my time, my effort, whatever it is, right? So there's good results, which leads you to that concept of you know what I had learned, you know, kind of the Marines concept of saving the one swimming toward you, right?
I don't say the story. I made it better.
Okay.
Can I tell? Have you guys heard his boat story? Have you heard his boat story? Oh yeah, but I think I have a better version of it, but I don't want to embarrass him and up the master with his own story. I've
No,
embellished it.
hey, you know what? I am constantly in learning mode, so I want to hear the new and improved version.
Okay, so this is what I also tell this to people when I'm recruiting and I get events. Because dude, this is like the best story ever. This is something they should teach in elementary school. Okay, so I want to imagine all of us, and you guys can secret. Let's do a poll to see whose version of Dave's story is better, mine or Dave's.
All right, come on.
All right, look at him now; he's getting pissed. All right, let's pretend that we're all like so. So we're in this huge lifeboat, and this lifeboat is so huge that it could fit as many people into it as are willing to climb up in the lifeboat. In the lifeboat, there's blankets, there's food, there's medicine that they need. There's every single thing that anyone would need if they get in the lifeboat. So the lifeboat is where you want to be. It's the thing that's going to make it so that you can live. Okay. Now we're in the North Sea, tying into the Titanic. Look at Dave, he's taking notes. So we're in the North Sea, and the Titanic just went down, and the water is so flat that we can see the reflections from the stars going off from the distance, and we can see that there's people way off in the distance. We can see there's people that are closer, and then we can see there's people that are even closer. And we're in this boat, Dave, me, and some of you guys. We're all in this boat together, and so the water's calm. It's frigid. You can maybe stand out water for 10 minutes, then you're just dead, or you're going to be eaten by a shark, or both. So we see these people way off in the distance. And
only one person can fit on the door, the floating plank, right? We learned that from Titanic.
Don't screw with my story, son.
Sorry.
Look at him. See, like Kristen's heard this damn thing all the time. She's like, Dave, shut up. This is better. All right. So we see people, we see people swimming off in the distance, way off into the distance. And we're shouting, come towards us. We have this boat. We can fit all of you in. You'll live, for God's sake. And we know they can hear us because there's no waves. The water is calm. We can see them because the starlight bouncing off the ocean. But we also see them doing this. This is what they're doing. They're looking over their shoulder and they're waving. They're saying, I hear you, but I'm swimming my own way. And who knows what they're thinking? I mean, they could be delirious from the cold, from having swum that far. But what they're probably thinking is, and we can kind of hear, we're listening to what they're saying. Some of them are shouting back and they're saying, I'm going to find my own boat. I'm going to swim to my own island. I'm going to figure it out myself. I'm going to keep on swimming in this direction, no matter what. I got it. I'm good. Now we know probability is that they're not going to make it. They're going to be, unfortunately, they're going to meet a bitter end. Now there's other people closer to us and they're in the middle. Now these people, they hear us. For sure. We can see them, but they're swimming in circles, and they're swimming in circles constantly. And they're like, okay, we're saying, come towards us. We've got plenty of room in this boat. You can be safe. You can be secure. This boat's going to, this is where you want to be. And what's happening is they're listening to the people that are swimming out to sea. At the same time, they're listening to us. And they're like, as they swim around and they're facing us, because we can see them, they're saying, okay, I'm going to swim towards you guys. And then as soon as they start swimming in that circle, then they're facing the guy out in the sea, and then they're being pulled that direction. So they're just constantly going in circles. What they don't realize is they're burning up all their energy. They're swimming slower and slower and slower. Unless they decide to swim towards us, they don't have enough energy to swim out to sea, and they're going to eventually sink. That's unfortunately what happens in life. You run out of time, you run out of energy, you run out of confidence, all the things. I mean, life is a perishable thing, right? All of us are. So then there's the people that are swimming towards us. And the people that are swimming towards us, maybe there were circle swimmers for a while. Maybe a few of them were the ones that were swimming away, but they're swimming towards us and they're putting their arms up and they're wanting to get in our boat. And there's a lot of them. And the better we get at shouting, the better we get at selling why they should come into our boat, the more they're going to swim towards us, the more people we can save. And remember, this boat is so big, there are more people are going to get in the boat. And so that's what we do. We all, the more people are in the boat, we can make our voices louder. We can even attract more people to want to swim towards the boat. We can save even more people. We can, the whole thing. And so here's what I learned from the story that Dave told me originally, which was really, I think if you guys think about it philosophically, it's pretty profound. Why waste your time, long-term lead follow-up CRMs, with the people that are swimming away from you? Why even waste your time with the people that are swimming in circles? If you only have 2 hours a day or an hour a day to work on all this stuff, really have your best energy. I'm going to be 54 this year. And I can tell you for sure that it's not necessarily that I have less energy than I did when I'm 30. I'm smarter about how I use that energy, which is something else Dave just said, by the way. And I'm being more careful about who I spend my time with and how I spend my time. My first half of my life, hopefully I'm at halfway point, I'm going to live to 108, was doing what I didn't want to do when I didn't want to do it at the highest level. I want the second half of my life to be about doing what I want to do when I want to do it, with whom I want to do it a majority of the time. A lot of sacrifice the first half, less sacrifice in the second half, but that's all by choice. And it all comes from financial freedom too. And Julie and I ran multiple tracks to get to that point, EXP just being one of them. So the people that are swimming towards us, we're picking them up, we're pulling them up, they're getting in the boat. The boat gets, stronger with more people. So what's the big lesson here? There's so many people in the water right now that are going to swim towards your boat, that are swimming at your boat right now, that have their hands up there and they want you to be saved, want to live. And what are you guys doing? What do most people do? I don't care if I pick a scab, the branding, the marketing, the lead buyers, the passive lead generation people, what they're doing is they're just looking for the people that are swimming away or the people that are swimming in circles. They're not paying attention to the people that are right in front of them. So if you guys are having a CRM for your real estate business or for anything, I'm going to challenge all of you to call every damn person in that list, every single person. I don't care. Oh, look at this person. They're opening up all the videos I send and look at the heat map on the activity. Call every single one of them and pre-qualify them. Call them. Why? Because everybody and their brother is doing passive lead generation, passive lead follow-up, and you're not going to get the people that have their hands in the air right now, because those are the ones that are on my list. Because my deal is you don't make my list for me to want to follow up on, unless, frankly, I know your hands in the air and you're ready for me to pull. These people are getting ready to transfer, those types of things. You guys following me in all this? So how'd I do, Dave?
That was awesome. I love it. I love it. All right, I love the new version. I'm gonna have to convert mine. No, that's awesome. And I mean, the concept of it's almost like you're at a concert, since we were talking music earlier. And if you're up on stage, all the people down the front of stage, they're so low, you can kind of see their hands sticking up and they're all clamoring for you, but you're looking out into the audience, right? So you're looking past all the people that are right up in front of you. And there are people in your life right now, in your circle, other agents who are, in pain, right? And they may be in pain because they want to do more. They may not be in pain because they're not paying their bills. They may be in pain because they want to achieve at a higher level and they're not sure how, right? And they may be in pain because they're not achieving where they need to be achieving. But either way, they need something that you have, right? The opportunity at EXP. And if you don't invite them in, if you're not talking to them, then you're saying no for them. But kind of, why does everyone have a problem with this picture? Right? Why does everyone have a problem with that picture? Everyone's always said there was enough room. There was enough room. Why did she make him die in the water? Why didn't she get him up on the door? And so, like, if you're out there talking and having coffee with your agent friends and everything else, but you're not inviting them to check out EXP, then you're letting them sit in the cold water and freeze to death when you've got an opportunity to help them, right?
You're just doing your best to ruin my story. Mine is better. Move away from the stupid floating board.
Hey, you changed my story first, so turn around.
Can I tell you guys a funny Leonardo DiCaprio story? You guys want to hear a funny story? It has nothing to do with real estate.
Do it.
All right. And I'm not making this up. This is true. And I've heard this now like 6 times. So there's this place in Central California called Post Ranch. You guys should write that down and research it. Seriously, I'll tell my story while you guys are sitting in front of your computers. Go to Post Ranch. It's like unbelievably spectacular. So this is years ago, Julie and I lived in Laguna Beach. We moved from Ohio, then we moved out, lived in Laguna Beach. So, real estate coaches, we could live wherever we wanted to. So we did. We also, a whole bunch of other places too. Anyway, so we would go to this place in Post Ranch in Big Sur, California. And the deal with Post Ranch is a lot of celebrities go there. The first time we went there, we didn't know that until we started seeing celebrities there. Russell Brand was there at the time. Jodie Foster just left. And so did Leonardo DiCaprio. He had just been there a week before. So the staff there can't even talk about the celebrities or whatever. So Julie and I were there for a week. So on like day 3, they started to become more comfortable with us and started telling us stories. Here's one of the stories. All right, so the year prior, or maybe 2 years prior, the first time we went there, Leonardo DiCaprio, and just trust me when I'm telling you guys, was there with Vladimir Putin, and Vladimir Putin had flown in to an airport in Monterey, California, taken a private helicopter, obviously, to Big Sur, to Post Ranch, and they are, and him and Leo, and take this as for what it's worth, and a whole bunch of Russian models basically camped out for a weekend it was actually the Post Ranch, the Post Ranch, the big house, essentially is what they call it, or it's the house that the actual Post Ranch people lived in. All right, so the first time we heard the story was from somebody that was a waiter, and we didn't believe it. The next time we heard the story, we left the property and we went to this little pizza place that was down on US 1. And we were telling the story, like, have you ever heard of anything? And the waiter there was like, I'm a volunteer fireman. He said, not only is it true, and then he gave a whole bunch of other details and how the volunteer firemen had to go there because Leo and Putin put too many logs in the fireplace and basically caused the house to full of smoke and it almost caused the house to burn down. And he started telling stories about, meeting Vladimir and how Vladimir is all, wrapped up in a blanket sitting on these stairs. And then, so we went there again last year, and again, trying to bounce the story off different people. And sure enough, we started hearing people tell the same story over and over again. Now, how does Vladimir Putin hang out with Leonardo DiCaprio in Big Sur, California? And you guys can Google it. It's nowhere in the news. I mean, there's my Leonardo DiCaprio story. Yeah.
Nice.
Hopefully I entertained somebody.
It's a strange world out there. It's a strange world.
Yeah.
So Tim, you talked about the strategy, and that's your strategy that you've come on, and you came across that yourself, and I came across it separately, and having watched our all of our alphas, right, our big attractors who have built large organizations, and I've really found that is the thing, right? That is the thing. Ultimately, it is. You're bringing in, I always refer to it as nudging snowballs off the mountain, right? You're walking along a snowy ledge, there's snowballs lined up, and you don't know how far any of those snowballs are going to run. And sometimes we think one's going to really go and it doesn't. And sometimes we think it's not going to go anywhere and it does. You don't really know. So it's kind of a numbers game of nudging snowballs off the ledge. But ultimately, out of that building relationships and bringing people into EXP, you don't have to get 300. Your chances go up if you get 300 of finding the snowball that's going to run, of course, right? So it is that game, but it's ultimately, your success of your organization is you brought in the right people who brought in the right people. And in every alpha, beta, all the large organizations that are out there, there isn't one of them where, they haven't found someone else in their organization who brought in a bunch of people, and somewhere in there brought in another, right?
Look at the numbers, right? Look at the overlapping, right? So if you look at, for example, without naming names, some of the people in our group, that's the person I sponsored, that sponsored the other person that sponsored Eric. If you go and look to see how many people Eric has without Orlando, or how many people, this guy, Sean, has without Eric, they still have decent sized groups, but they're not thousands. So without that guy that came in on the third level, those guys would have relatively small groups by comparison. And that's the thing. That's the miracle of this thing. But the only way you're going to find those people is if you're actually recruiting. So if you're not focusing on personal recruiting all the time, you're not going to stumble across the people, because you're just not going to be in the, you're not going to be in the boat really at the end of the day. That's the reason I said you got to put yourself on a steady diet of doing this, and just having conversations. But remember, I like to use practical words. I don't like fancy sort of, woo-woo type stuff. It's confusing. You are selling. So when you're selling EXP, if you're doing it on a regular basis and accept the fact that's actually what you're doing, recruiting, selling, sponsoring, whatever, and you start putting yourself on a schedule where you're going to do it every single day, you're going to get better over time. And you're going to start finding other people that are interested. Because remember, every single person that sells real estate in your market, it's EXP is, I would say, probably 99% chance better fit than wherever the hell they're doing now. And I'll tell you, a lot of times you can just recruit people just off what their commission split is. You can.
Yeah.
And those are super easy to get. Just have that conversation. Well, let me ask you, what did you pay last year? And they'll tell you. And I've had some, the biggest one we had was in Iowa, of all places, at a Century 21 office. The guy had the previous year paid $432,000 to his broker.
Oh.
And it's like, I mean, you got to feel sorry for the guy, but at the same time, he must have known what he was doing. Why did he do it? Because he had these previous relationships, because he knew all these, he felt like he was part of that family and the whole thing, that took a little bit of work to kind of get him to, get out of that cult. But once he did, he realized, well, I'd have to do the things that are best for my family. How much less would you have to work if that's what you chose to do? If if you still chose to sell the same number of homes you did last year, if you were able to pocket that $432,000, would you be able to spend more or less time with your kids? Those types of questions. And when you ask questions like that, it kind of cuts to it. Otherwise, people get all confused. Sometimes that's the intermediate group and the upper end group, but the entry-level new agent group, a lot of people will say, I'm not going to recruit new agents. I don't even know. Julie and I sold 103 houses our first year in real estate when we were in our early 20s. You tell me that I would have been a bad person to recruit? Nope.
Right.
So to say that you don't want to recruit new agents is asinine. I just don't get it. Yeah, they're unproductive. A lot of times they fail, but that's true in life with everything.
Right. But yeah, it's the exact same thing. You don't know. It's snowball on a ledge, right? And so it does become a numbers game. It's always been a numbers game. And that's I always walk that tightrope of the qualities and the quantity, right? Because you're going to find it, right? The study of making the ashtrays or whatever, right? You have one group that makes a whole ton of ashtrays and one group that just needs to make one perfect ashtray. And the group that just went for speed and quantity, like make as many as you can, they ended up with, at the end of the day, a better ashtray or whatever than the one that just had one. And all that time to just do one and perfect it, because you learn over time and you get the right one. But
well, it's a Sheryl Sandberg quote. She said, done is better than perfect. And what you're speaking to is the people that like to procrastinate and get ready to get started. The best way to learn is learn on the job, So
right.
I see that question right there.
Yeah, I was going to point that out to you.
I'll tell you exactly what we did. I'll tell you exactly where it started. Julie and I were speaking in Hawaii at, I don't remember the name of the broker. And it was just for like a half a day. So we did our thing, but we were going to stay there for a week. And Julie and Zoe were on the beach playing. And I was, not playing. I was on my phone. And then I started taking pictures of Julie and Zoe. And I started putting them on Facebook. And this was in November, I think. And then I started reconnecting with people I knew from my, from real estate career and, from coaching, and they started liking the posts and whatever. And I just started talking with them. And then that's where I got my original list for who to solicit for EXP. And I started following up and I started calling them. And you guys will experience this too. You will find in most cases, people, so there's two groups of people. There's people that are EXP curious and people that are ready to join EXP. When Julie and I started 5 years ago, there was what the hell is EXP? EXP curious and people that are ready to join EXP. But the what the hell is EXP people were this big and went up like this. Now, I would say most people are EXP curious. Very rare to come across somebody that hasn't heard of EXP. You guys are so blessed for that, and or ready to join EXP and they're looking for a sponsor. So, I was helping them understand what EXP was, answering questions, but you guys will hear, they'll often say, well, you know what? I was EXP curious, but now that I see that Rory joined, now that I see that you joined Rory, I'm going to take a serious look. So then that's how you get the conversation started. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. If you got to ask yourself, and this is true again with everything in life, why does the human brain try to overcomplicate everything, right? Why do we go to this, let me ask you guys a question. If you had to take 5 listings between now and the end of, what month is this? March. Okay. You want to take 5 listings, and you have to take 5 listings, and you get not only all the benefits of the listings financially and otherwise, but you also get $1 million. You're going to get $1 million taxes paid. Here's the money you win. One person wins. If you had to take 5 listings, how would you guys do it? Well, let me reframe that. What would you stop doing? You have to take 5 listings. Amanda, what would you do? Zooms are fun. Who can we pick on?
Come on, Amanda, what you got?
We'll pick on somebody else.
There's-
Okay, well, so people, you guys put your answers over there. So here's the fascinating thing. When you ask yourself that question, but you really frame it like, what would you stop doing? Let's start there. If you had to take 5 listings in the next 30 days and you really wanted to accomplish this goal, it's like the most important thing in your life, what would you stop doing? Seriously, what would you stop doing? What would you just say, you know what? In the light of day, considering I want to take 5 listings, if 5 listings is easier for you, make it 10, it says this is a psychological experiment because all of you guys have a list. There you go. All of you guys have a list of the things that you would stop doing because it's basically a waste of time. Not a complete waste of time, but a 99% waste of time. Scrolling, working on your brand, working on your logo, working on your website. Because those things are not going to put you in a position to take 5 listings in the next 30 days. True or false? 5 listings, 30 days. So what are you going to do? Come on, Lars, you know this. Focus. But focus on what? Doing what?
You're going to prospect for listings.
Oh, damn. Hey, Lars, let's communicate later. Actually, I've been meaning to connect with you. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. Just text me 512-758-0206, 512-758-0206. Yeah, Lars just said it. You'd basically, you proactively lead generate. You would proactively lead generate. What does that mean? Right now, who's got their MLS open? Come on. All right, thank you. The handsome man with the cool looking glasses. All right, can you get into your MLS and tell me how many expireds there were in your market in the last 180 days? Not your little geographic area, but the entire MLS. You guys all should do this. Because here's the thing, and this is honestly, if you allow yourself to experience what some of you are about to experience, and you don't just brush it off because it feels intimidating, it's going to change your life. Because he's going to find out the number's thousands, and all of you will. And this isn't a hot seller's market with no inventory. When you search your entire MLS. And yet, what do agents do? They buy leads, they spend all this money on marketing and branding, and they make things too complicated. And yet the lists of people that are in your marketplace right now that are just expired, how about for sale by owners? How about notice defaults if there are any? In Utah, they're starting to see notice defaults. There you go. Look at that. You guys
over
see?
5,000.
Holy crap, right? I mean, holy crap. And how many of those would you guys need to actually have an amazing year? Look at this, Ian. 1,300 expireds. Ian, what's your average sale price in the last 30 days? Holy shit. What's your average sale price?
About 375.
Okay. So every time you sell something, he's going to make $10,000. How many of those would you need per year to have an incredible year?
10.
Hello. Okay. Opportunity is all around us at all times. And yet something about the human brain makes things way too damn complicated. Jeremy, did you come up with a number?
Yes.
You know what he's doing? He's never searched for expireds in his MLS before, so he's learning how to do it.
2722 in the last 30 days.
That's extraordinary. What's your market?
Maryland.
I mean, it's a hot market, right? This is where there's no inventory. There's almost 3,000 expireds. And yet people are willing to pay so much money for leads. This doesn't make any sense to me. And it shouldn't make any sense to you.
There are probably more expireds than active listings right now.
Yeah. I mean, explain that. Oh, there's no list. And why isn't anyone talking about this on all the websites? Agents going, I have $1,000. What should I do spending how about learning how to actually go after think about an expired. What do you know? You know what the price isn't. You know they're willing to hire an agent. You know they're willing to pay a commission. And chances are if they're overpriced, AKA aspirationally priced when they originally listed it 90 days, 180 days ago, whatever the reason for selling has become even more, look, everyone's paying attention and focusing now. This is good. Whatever their reason for wanting to put the house for sale 6 months ago, Maybe it was new construction, maybe it was a relocation, maybe it was this, that, the other thing. That reason is even, even more critical now. Their time frame to get the house sold is even, then what do you have to do? You have to learn how to, call them. Don't mail them. I'm going to mail them a postcard. You're not listening then. You have to learn how to pre-qualify them. You have to learn how to set an appointment. You have to learn to, send a pre-listing pack. You have to learn to present. You have to learn to close. Your goal is not to generate a shit ton of leads. That's dumb. Having a lot of leads is dumb because the lot of leads is going to do, it's just a false big warm blanket that makes you feel comfortable that you're going to, this is like when we have people that join our coaching program, one of the questions we ask them in the intake is, how many leads do you have? And if we hear anything more than like 25, we know what the problem is. They're terrible at pre-qualifying. They don't pre-qualify. They generate a lead, they stick them in a CRM, and they wait for the CRM to do all the work because you guys have been lied to, telling you that that's what's going to actually, the output of that's going to be real estate transactions. Call those people. So going back to recruiting, call, pick up the phone, learn how to have communication. None of you guys are, I see maybe 2 millennials, right? You guys, you all are all alive back when before social media. Pick up the damn phone, have conversations, connect with people. That's what they want. That's what you want. Stop hiding from the opportunity because it's all around you at all times. And you only need 1 or 2 unicorns to show up in your life and your life changes. And don't make revenue share this big sort of strange out there thing. Make it practical. How much money do you guys need every month to pay your bills? For you to be financially free. Write this down. Write this down. Rich is where your money works for you and you no longer have to work for your money. Rich is where your money works for you and you no longer have to work for your money. For many of you, and you write it down what your number was, that might be earning $7,500 a month, $10,000 a month. If you had $10,000 a month coming in passively, by definition, you guys would be rich where your money no longer has to work what I said, right? Get to that point, and then you're financially free. Don't stop working. Don't stop hustling real estate. Don't stop doing the other things. But then you can build wealth faster than you can possibly imagine. Does that make sense, guys? So stop making, and when you find yourselves being attracted to things that are complicated, like how many expireds were there? Thousands. And yet, how many of you are going to go to some damn complicated website where there's a 47-step drip campaign where you're going to be mailing and spending all this money while you're working on your brand, where they're going to tell you how to optimize your YouTube videos? Why'd you get into real estate? Why'd you do it? Was it to basically be a YouTube star? You're being seduced into believing that you have to be a YouTube star to be successful in real estate. It's not true. You have in front of you thousands of people. Yeah, or TikTok. Oh God, please tell me you don't have a TikTok channel. I do not want to see that. I would delete TikTok from my phone. So moral of the story is there's opportunity all the way around you. Stop making it complicated. And everyone's brains, our egos, want to make us believe that we have to walk on coals, or we have to somehow have some spiritual awakening, or we have to have all this overly complicated. All the people that are telling you that stuff are people trying to sell you that stuff because that's what they sell. There are 1,297 expireds in Ian's marketplace. Ian has to make, if he wants to make over $100,000 this year, and by the way, Ian, you'll make more than that because for every one of those 10 listings you take from calling expireds, you're going to sell actually 20 houses because probably all those expireds are going to want to buy something, or you're going to double in the listing. You're going to sell. So you're going to make 200,000 to generate 10 to when you get 10 expired listings. Why would your lives be any more complicated than that? Why would you choose to believe that it's more complicated than that? I don't understand. I truthfully don't.
So Tim, what I'm always amazed by, and not so much anymore, but is the correlation, right? All of the like what you're saying here is this is how you go get business. And I used to use a really awful example, but when I was teaching agents, about going to get business, and I say, listen, if I took someone that you cared about and I put a gun to their head and I said, if you don't come back with a listing by the end of the day, unfortunately, they have to die, right? How many of you could go get a listing, right? And all the hands go up. I'm like, well, what would you do? Right. And like you would go find the listing, you would knock on doors, you would do whatever. Here's the point. Is there a listing out there that you could get today? There is. So if you have the urgency to go get the listing, then all of a sudden, all of the other things that are kind of easy and long-term or whatever go out the window, and you go straight to the few activities You're going to talk to everyone you know and find out who
Yep.
knows someone who's selling. And you're going to go knock on the door. You're going to do whatever you need to do to come home with a listing.
Here's the problem.
Good.
That how many of you guys have been in the business for more than 15 years? Pat, I think you have. Yeah, there's a couple of you. Good. All right. So if you've been in the business for more than 15 years, you remember pre-Zillow, right? You remember before basically it became normal for agents to buy leads. All the rest of you guys, you think that you've been told that as soon as you get your license, that's what you're supposed to do is buy leads. Every single one of you. You've been told you're supposed to build a CRM and work on your brand. You've been told that the number one thing you have to do to be successful in real estate is build your brand. True or false? What's your definition of success? Isn't it helping people making money? Isn't that your definition of success? There's 1,297 expired listings in Ian's MLS area. You guys getting my point here? Stop making it so damn complicated. You got in the business, most people, because they wanted to control their schedules, because they wanted to be their own bosses and they wanted to be rich. You got the first two as soon as you got your real estate license and decided to be a full-time agent. The last one is elusive for many people because they get so seduced. Now, but here's the problem. If you only been in the business for 15 years or less, chances are the people you're listening to as coaches, mentors, trainers, office managers, brokers, they've only been in the business for 15 years or less. And so they only know the world where basically it's been normalized to do all this time wasting crap. Sorry. Okay. That's what they have normalized. And so they've never learned how to actually be their best versions of themselves as a real estate agent, a real estate salesperson. All a salesperson is somebody that solves somebody else's problem. So they don't know what to tell you what to do. They've never done it. They have no clue. And they'll say stuff like, they'll be dismissive. If you hear anyone being dismissive of picking up a phone and calling an expired, I want you to ask yourself, why are they being dismissive of it? Why would you want something else that failed to sell on the market? Why would you want someone else's leftovers? All these dumb things. It's because they've never done it, or they tried it once and it didn't work. Oh, you want to, it doesn't work. It won't work. And oh, everyone's calling expires. No, they're not, because nobody knows how, because they've all been taught this passive stuff. So when you're actually asking yourself, why is it that I don't have the things that I want in life? It's because you are creating too many barriers between you and what your goal is. And if you just accept the fact that you're doing that, and all of us do it to a certain extent, like you want to lose 30 pounds, why do you make it so complicated? Why do you need to read 13 books on it? Why do you need to watch 1,000 videos? You know what to do. Exercise more, eat less. And now you have Ozempic and other things that can help you along with that, right? Why do you make it so complicated? Does this resonate with you guys?
So I want to, because, Tim, a lot of these things, if someone's getting started in real estate, right? It's like, hey, you need to go out and get business, right? You've invested in getting your license. It costs thousands of dollars to have an active real estate license in most markets, right? It's a fair amount of money to get going by the time you've activated your license and everything else. So you need to go in and you need to start getting business. And so you need to go get the business. Taking the time to set up all your social media and to put stuff out there, all the passive things that you can do to build your brand, build your website and everything else that don't contribute to you getting business right away. So we tell new agents, you need to start doing certain things, right? The things that you're talking about right here. And then, if you need to go get more business or increase your business, you focus in on the things that get you business. And when you look at agent attraction, most of the people on here are in early days in agent attraction, building the revenue share, creating that opportunity for down the road, right? Where you hit your freedom number. In our group, we also talk about achieving your reason number, right? And going after that. When you're starting out and going to do that and talk to agents, it's the same mindset, right? Like Tim said, pick up the phone and talk to people, build have the relationships, use the relationships that you have, talk to people, right? Find out where they are and what they're looking for, meet them where they are and meet their needs, have the conversations. If you're going to put out there on social media, I don't think those things are bad, but those aren't going to be the primary drivers of getting listings or getting agents to join you. I call it softening the beaches, right? If I'll use another military reference, but if you're going to go, land on the beach, right? First you drop all the bombs on there and you create that kind of the opening where you can then pull your boat up and the Marines can get out on the beach and take the beach, right? But if all you do is drop the bombs out there, but you never show up to take the beach, you still don't win. It's still not yours.
So to your point, Dave, there's passive and there's proactive. There's proactive and there's passive lead generation. The proactive lead generation is doing the real work of real estate. The passive is to support the proactive lead generation. That's what he was just saying.
Yep.
So if you guys are going to, for example, if you're going to call, let's just say, for example, you're going to call expired, just so we can stay on that theme. And by the way, there's like over 30 different sources of leads that you can be actually proactively lead generating to. And leads don't cost you anything. You don't have to pay referral fees. You don't have to buy a lead list. You don't have to play those bullshit games. So there's over 30 different sources of leads you can be calling today. I mean, that's for a lot of you guys should be like, what? Right? So there's proactive and there's picking up the, that's proactive is picking up the phone, doing the real work of real estate. Now, if you want to enhance that, so for example, let's say you're calling an expired that's in a community that you also happen to do open houses in on a regular basis, or that you are doing postcard mailers or whatever you're doing. The passive is going to make the proactive more powerful, right? Because then they might have some familiarity with you. They may have seen your signs before. They may have actually come into one of your open houses. So the proactive is what's actually going to put money in your pocket, and like urgent money, 90 days or less. And the passive is there to reinforce the proactive. You guys, hopefully you're understanding that. But if you have to choose only to do one, you want to do the proactive and you don't have to do the passive. I'm going to say that again. If you don't want to spend the money on all the hoop-de-doo, if you don't want to spend all the time learning how to master the art and craft of doing a TikTok video dance, that's fine. Get really good at the proactive. I'll give you an example. Chuck Williamson is in our group. I think he's number 5 individual income earner for EXP last year, maybe 4, I don't know. He earned over $1 million. He's younger than me. He's 44 or 45. I had to teach him how to use Facebook. He didn't even know. All he does is proactive lead generation. He was one of my coaching clients. That's all he does. That's all he'll ever do, because he kills at it. And everyone else in his marketplace is doing mailers and doing bus benches and doing moving trucks and doing all this stuff. He's like, nope, I'm going to call every day. He keeps his active listing count at a certain number. That's his whole life. He keeps his inventory. I think it's like maybe 12 or 15 homes in inventory at all times, not pendings, active listings. And when 3 or 4 of them sell per month, that's his mission every single month. He's always replacing his listings. It's what Julie and I call it the magic number of listings. And most of you will only need 3 or 5 because of sale prices. So if you had 5 listings at all times, you work up to having 5 listings at all times. In most cases, that's going to be $10,000 per listing. You'll always have 2 or 3 in contract, which means you're going to be making $20,000 to $30,000 a month. That's no marketing. That's no branding. That's no working with buyers. That's no doing all the other things you guys are being led to believe that you have to spend all your life energy and all your profit doing. It's just learning how to be really good. Not honestly, I would say you can be good. You don't even have to be really good, because the competition out there is non-existent, because everyone else is, especially with expireds, again, staying on that, they're doing stuff that's passive, mailers, all this Mickey Mouse, essentially. I'm going to put them in my, campaign. I'm going to follow them on Facebook. Why don't you just call them? Oh, in my marketplace, we can't call them. Why don't you go knock on their door and, use one of our scripts? I mean, just, again, this is the real work of real estate. This is the difference between Chuck Williamson, who earns over $1 million per year, and everyone else's marketplace that's wondering how he does it.
Love it. I had a mentor who told me, sometimes you don't have to be good. You just have to be there. Right. And the concept being that most people don't show up. Most people don't do the uncomfortable work. And so if you just show up, your script doesn't need to be perfect. You can stumble through it. You're the only one. There aren't a lot of choices. So I love it. Guys, you paid for 30 minutes and you got an hour. So really, go ahead.
There's a link in the chat. It's called premiercoaching.com. You guys can access our coaching program for the first 30 days for free. And that includes a daily semi-private coaching call with one of our Harris certified coaches. But you have first access to the first level, and there's an absolute ton of scripts and everything in there. So it's premiercoaching.com, where you guys also, you should connect with Julie and I on our podcast. Just go to Google and just put a Tim and Julie Harris podcast, and you'll find us on iTunes. We do a podcast every single day, usually a half hour, sometimes 45 minutes. And it's very, very intense. If you guys like this, you'll love the podcast.
Yeah, it's hit it right between the eyes. Really good information, really timely information. The stuff that you're seeing out there in the news and how it impacts your business, how it impacts your clients, how to adjust, how to react. Really, it's being proactive versus reactive, and having the information to run a great business is super smart. So always great stuff. I shared their content. You've probably seen me out there posting it and that kind of stuff. Really good stuff. Love the mindset on it. So guys, opportunity to hear from people that are out there doing it, right, and understanding how to go apply it And as I was saying before, the correlation between growing your sales business and growing your revenue share organization, I mean, it really is, it's the same skills, it's the same mindset, it's the same approach. The things that work, work, and they really work on both. And so what's great is as you build your calendar out, your daily schedule and everything, you're looking at where you're putting your time, that question of, what would you stop doing and what would you start doing? Make sure that you're looking at that calendar and you're putting the time in, holding your time accountable for results on both growing your sales business, growing your revenue share organization. What are you doing? Because I know there's a bunch of you that have raised your hand that said, I'm going to go do this. I want to go do this. I'm building freedom for myself. Right. But if you look at where you're actually spending your time, does your calendar reflect your goals? Do your activities reflect your goals, the stated goals of where you want to be and where you're trying to go? If you look back over your activities the last 48 hours, how much of it was applied towards the things that you intend to do and where you want to be? And then get focused on it. Tim's given us some absolutely incredible insight on where to put your time and what works. So now he has handed the ball to you, and it's your opportunity to go do something with it. But you will get the results. That's the awesome thing. And so many people, as he termed it, are EXP curious right now. They're out there. They're out there. Jack is out. I'm going to use my analogy. Jack is out there floating in the water, waiting to be picked up.
He's
I'm just
Kristen, gotta
butchering
get
your
that boy a
analogy.
snack. Dude, think about it. A boat that's unlimited size versus a board. I mean, how's the boat not better than the board? I mean, update.
It's the SS.
But you know what though? But Dave, to loop this, I mean, ultimately these guys are all in the boat at this point. I have a feeling, looking at their faces,
Yep.
And then now what our mission is to shop for other people, honestly. And you guys got to fight for your freedom. And I do mean that in the literal sense. You're going to have to, whatever your magic number is, whatever the number you need to have coming in every single month, so you no longer have to think about money. As far as revenue share goes, put all your energy towards thinking about that. As Dave is the master of helping you break that down. It's not complicated. I'll give you guys a little cheat code. Basically, if you have, for every, I'm apprehensive saying this because your numbers are going to, vary depending on who you recruit, but you're going to make usually around 30 to 32 bucks per month per agent in your downline. Okay. So if you have 100 people, it's going to be roughly equivalent to $3,000 a month. And that's not official from EXP or, no disclosures. That's just from an observation from your old friend, Tim. So if you're thinking, if you have to make $10,000 a month, you have to have about 300 people in your overall group. For you to benefit from that, you probably don't have to personally have more than 10 people that are FLQA for you, probably even fewer than that. Point is, this is a hell of a lot simpler than you think it is. And I guess if I could leave you guys with one thing, ask yourselves why you're making things so complicated. Why? What's the benefit of it? You know what? Want me to answer the question? Do everyone want me to tell you guys why you're doing it? Because you're trying to avoid doing the real work because it makes you uncomfortable. That's why. Because if you come up with longer lists of things to do, and I got to get my CRM done, I have to attend more trainings, I have to do this, I have to do that, you're just procrastinating doing the real work. You are. Which means there's no version of yourself into the future that's going to be proud that you made that decision. None. No version of yourself. 12 months from now, when we're all sitting on the beach in Puerto Rico, you guys have all come to visit Julie and I. We live at the Ritz-Carlton here in Puerto Rico, and we're all sitting on the beach. I'm going to ask you guys, what is the thing you're most proud of? The one thing you're most proud of that you've accomplished in the last 12 months. And I'd love to have every one of you say, I'm earning enough money from revenue share that basically I'm still working, I'm still selling real estate, but I don't feel the same. The monkey is finally off my back. I feel financially free for the first time in my life. I would love to have that experience with every single one of you.
Amen.
That would make me incredibly happy. It would.
All right, who's in for that? Who's in? There we go. All right, your hands are up. Your hands are up, guys. Let's go do it. The opportunity is in front of you. We are in the place to make that happen. You are surrounded by people who can help you make that happen. And it's such an incredibly giving company. Tim and I are not in the same group, and we help each other out. I lean on Tim for things, and he comes to me for some things, and we do that with all the other people, right? And so there's tons of opportunity here. It's theirs. It's there for the taking. It's yours. So guys, let's go get it together. All right. Tim, my friend, thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you guys. Hopefully I'll be hanging with you sometime soon down in Puerto Rico and Dorado.
Yeah, man. See you guys. God bless.
Thank you guys. Have an awesome Friday. God bless.